So as I said, I'm Quentin's daughter, Heidi Hogan, and I'm happy to be here. I'm going to start with some poems and some other thoughts that I composed about Susan when she first passed, and there'll be other people who come up to speak. So. For everything there is a season, and a time and a purpose for every matter under heaven. A time to be born, and a time to die. A time to weep, and a time to laugh. A time to mourn, and a time to dance. A time to keep silence, and a time to speak. For everything there is a season, and a time and a purpose for every matter under heaven. We've come together today in this springtime day to celebrate the life of Susan K. Stueber, and on behalf of Susan's family, I welcome you to this service. Here we shall honor her memory and mourn and remember a friend and a companion who will affirm life itself and our part in it. We're all connected to Susan, all her friends, her family, her students, her fellow fighters, and fellow hikers. Susan K. Stueber was born on September 29, 1952, and she died September 29, 2022. She was on this earth for 70 years exactly. The 70 times she journeyed all the way around the sun on her beloved earth. Late in her life, she called herself a hopeful warrior. And she was a warrior. A warrior fights, a warrior teaches, and a warrior loves. And throughout her life, Susan fought for herself, and she fought for others, and she fought for our earth. She hiked it, and walked it, swam, battled it, cultivated, and cleaned it. She taught. Susan taught. She taught kids. She taught adults and friends and neighbors, and she even taught congressmen as she fought to improve our climate. She loved. Susan loved. She loved her husband and her sisters, her brother, her parents, her grandkids, her friends and family, her students and her pets. 70 times around the sun, each time, Susan was learning and loving and laughing, teaching and persevering. Susan was intelligent, artistic, and funny, adventurous, creative, and kind. And there's a saying in my family that has been around about 45 years, and although it is simple, it is some of the highest praise that my family bestows. It is to say that Susan was a good woman and a hard worker. I only had the honor of knowing her for the last decade or so of her life, and I was thrilled to be able to officiate at her wedding with my dad, Quentin. Susan opened her heart immediately to my family, loving not only my dad, but me and my husband and our children and my mother and my uncle. She was happy to join our family and quickly became connected to all of us, joining us for every holiday event, every Christmas and Thanksgiving. And going on trips and hikes and adventures. We went to Hawaii together and many hikes in the deserts. And she helped teach our kids about nature and even used her skills as a math teacher to help my kids with their math homework. She was a wonderful grandmother, and I was really glad that she got to be one, and I'm glad that it was with us. And if I could tell Susan one last thing, it would be to say thank you, Susan, for loving my dad. There are a lot of people here who want to get up and share their feelings and memories of Susan today. So for the next several minutes, or I'm not sure how long it will go, we're open. We will share in giving and receiving those memories, and then we will all share some food and fellowship together. So whoever would like to speak next, please come up. And
can you make that announcement?
Oh yes, I would like to say that there are 3 pancreatic cancer survivors here in our audience. If you'd like to raise your hand or stand up, please do so. We're all grateful that you came here. Thank you for joining Susan and her family here. Want me to end that now? Oh, sure.
That right now.
I can do that now, sure. So Susan was also a teacher, and she recently, one of her friends, Donna North, passed and contacted Quentin to tell Susan, and they did not know that Susan had passed too. So for those of you who are teachers in our audience, Donna North has passed, and the services will be Monday, April 3rd at Sunset Memorial Park from 9 to 11. And if you want more details or the phone numbers, you can contact Quentin afterwards, for those of you who are also friends of Donna North. Anyone else would like to come up and speak? Now is your time.
All right. Okay. I'm Tyler Lake. I'm Susan's nephew. I met Susan hiking maybe mid or late 90s. So, you know, where she's at now, I'm sure she's tearing up some hiking trails, finding some good spots. And me and my cousin Derek, my dad and Quentin, meet her at one of those breaking spots on the trail. So, see you again, Susan.
Real quick here too. I know a lot of you know that that I talked to Susan. Susan was hoping to survive to age 70, and she was hoping to be in good enough health at age 70 that she wanted to do 70 miles of the Pacific Crest Trail. We hiked in the Pacific Crest Trail regularly, and but her goal was to be healthy enough to do 70 miles for her 70th year. And so last summer, when Susan started going downhill and we start realizing that she was not likely to barely make 70, I told her that I was going to make sure that I was going to take her for 70 miles in the Pacific Crest Trail. And so anyhow, I'm doing that. Oh, and when I told her that, it brought a big smile on her face. She knew she was going to go those 70 miles on the Pacific Crest Trail, and I'm doing it. I've got quite a bit of miles. My sister is a hardcore person on this, and she wants me to do it just counting one way. So if that's the case, I've got quite a bit more to do it. When I leave my car and I walk out, I've been counting it back and forth. But my sister wants me to only count it one way, so it means I got to do 140 miles with her. So I'm not positive I'm going to be able to achieve that. But we'll easily get the 70 miles in by the way I was doing it. So anyhow, I did want to mention that because it was a goal of Susan's to do that, and I'm making sure she's doing that. Okay? Anybody else want to say something?
Oh, someone's coming. Yeah, I want to talk, but I'm not.
There are two things that stand out in my mind when I think of Susan. One, her enthusiasm for the causes that she supported, the climate change, the Sierra Club. I'm a member of the UU Church, and she was very supportive of that. And the other bit is her enthusiasm of life. I've never seen her be cross or sad, and if she was, she didn't show it. She was always a positive person in the times that I have seen her. Oh, and a loving person, too.
So, Tom.
My name is Tom O'Reilly, and I'm a cancer survivor. We have several other survivors in the back. I had the pleasure of meeting Susan 4 years ago.
No, probably. Yeah, I guess 4 years ago.
4 years ago, at a survivor meeting for UCI. But Sue Clinton and Susan had come, and I think it started in 2019, and before the pandemic, I think there were about 20, 25 people coming monthly. And when the pandemic occurred, Susan contacted me and said she wanted to continue to pursue the pancreatic cancer survivor group. that she wanted to do it every week. I was kind of skeptical. I thought, every week is kind of awful. But Susan was insistent. We contacted UCI. We started doing it during the start of the pandemic. We're still doing it now. We have anywhere from, I think we have a mailing list of about 30 people. At any given meeting, we have anywhere from 5 to 15 people. So it's a part of Susan's legacy. I mean, she was a warrior, she was a fighter. She dragged me into this. But I don't know if you helped us. It was a couple times. I think I can say safely that Susan and I were computer idiots.
I'm worse.
The biggest problem was when we were starting, I'd set up a Zoom call, or Susan would set up a Zoom call, and people would be calling and saying, how come we can't get in? And just absolute panic. But we persevered, and this is Susan's part of Susan.
And I also, adding to this, the one advantage of having it being Zoom is that people from across the country are actually coming in, and you have members from other states.
We have people from Colorado, Wisconsin, we've had people from Washington, D.C., Alabama. I think I mentioned a couple states. And we have someone currently from Seattle. It's through referrals from UCI oncologists and from cancer survivors referring other people. And this is just really, the fact that it's still going 3 years. Testament to this.
Thank you.
Well, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Quentin's sister.
Oh, no.
Okay? And I'm a big hiker. So,
Snow skier.
huh?
Snow skier, too.
Oh, snow skier too.
Water skier, too. I'm sorry.
Anyway, I met Susan over 20 years ago. Quentin was dating her, and we were at the time preparing to hike Mount Whitney. And I got the permits and everything, and we did some hikes together preparing for that. Anyway, we hiked Mount Whitney all together. That was the first trip that we did together. Since then, we've done many trips. Then there was a big gap that they weren't together, and then they got back together and they got married. And then we did all kinds of trips. We went to Costa Rica together, and we went to Hawaii together. Actually, before they were even married, we had a trip. We went to Hawaii, and Quentin, they were just dating, but he invited Susan, and Susan and I hung out together, and she was just so excited, Quentin. I just remember how just so excited she was that Quentin invited her to go to Hawaii, because it was already a planned trip. And I think she had to come in later because she was still working. She was teaching. But we had a fabulous time that time. Costa Rica, Hawaii, another time or two, and Mammoth, and winter and fall, and just come here, and we've had a lot of great times together. And Susan was always just we just got along really great. We'd have our bottle of wine. And until she got sick, then she laid off the wine, but she did like it at one point. Anyway, I'm holding on to all our great memories that we had together, and she will be sorely missed. But in my memories and in my heart, she'll always be there.
I'm not going to go stand up here. Yeah, I'm a friend of Quentin's and Donna's. I'm their ski buddy. And one thing, being in Arizona, it's quite a long trip. It goes down. It's about I'll miss that of her, and just the fact that we like to go out to eat too. And Indian food and Thai food, all sorts of good stuff. And just, it was so nice to have somebody when they went to.
I'm Scott Stueber. I probably knew her, sure I knew her before anybody else did. She was 6 months older than me. Her dad and my dad were siblings. When her mom got pregnant and my mom got pregnant, my mom told me this later, but she had already decided my name was going to be Suesan. and Sue stole it. So, but you know, when we were young, we worked together all the time. For a while, her family and our family lived next to our apartment after housing at University of Wisconsin Madison. We spent summers together, fishing and swimming and some hiking, not a whole lot because we were little. The one thing I wanted to say is I agree with what everybody said about Susan's attitude and her happiness with life, but I also still have a little bit of a scar where she bit me when I was because we used to fight a lot. And she realized she could bite. So, but yeah, Sue is going to be missed. I kept in touch with her for quite a while and sort of lost touch when I was in high school, got back in touch periodically. We'd see each other. And then I think it was started talking with her before Sue and Quentin got married, and then we came out for the wedding, and I was fortunate to be able to see her in the hospital a day and a half before she passed. But other people have said that she's going to live on. We're going to remember her, and she's to me a positive example of somebody who cared deeply about other people, about other creatures, about the earth, about the wonder of getting to know the world. So, thank you.
There's someone else.
Hi. I probably know Susan less than all of you. I know I haven't. It was only the last couple months of her life. And I'm also a cancer survivor, pancreatic cancer survivor. And she left such a space in my heart. As soon as I met her, I knew she had so much grace and so much life. And we shared kind of horror stories and all sorts of stuff, but I saw her at treatment, I saw her at a trial, I saw her, and Clinton was always by her side. And she had never once, like you said, she never once said, why me? She never said, never heard her complain. She gave me a lot of strength. And like I said, I've only known her with cancer and being a pancreatic survivor, her warrior. And she left a big impression on a lot of our hearts and gave us a lot of strength and stuff. And I'm gonna miss her, really miss her. And I never saw her with hair. I never had hair either. So, I saw a picture of you with hair and I was going like, God, she was a beautiful looking woman. Just full of life. And cancer sucks. Thank you.
That's the sister's husband.
Hi,
Hi.
I'm Jim, and what I'm about to tell you is 90% truthful and factual. It'll be up to you to decide what is and what isn't. Susan was my 6th grade teacher. Good. Okay. And I'm Donna's husband, so that makes me Quentin's brother-in-law. They bought that.
Yeah, that's true.
I tell you what, Susan, we went on a lot of trips and stuff, and there was never anything she would ever say no to doing. I wasn't sure I wanted to do this stuff, but Susan was right up there. She and the three of them, they would just drag me along because I was with them. But she was always just very nice. She was more than a friend. She was family. And she was always very welcoming and accepting. And obviously she's going to be sorely missed, but she'll, always be with us in our memories and stuff. And Susan really had a pretty good sense of humor. And I, especially here and even on our trip, we'd just sit around, laugh, just have a good time, and nothing else mattered. And that was kind of like what Susan wanted, people to do, is just to be happy and to be accepting and to have a good life. And I think Susan definitely did all of those. And she really did live life to the fullest until several years ago. And even then, she just didn't give up. She would walk around the property here, for exercise and stuff. And Susan was just a really, really good person. And I am just so thankful that Quentin and Susan got married here, and we got to know them, Susan, even more. And anyway, it was just good to have her in our life.
I am Dave Simpson. Rambling. Oh, okay. I'm Dave Simpson. I met Susan at Victor Jr. We started teaching here together. I was really impressed with her. She was a math teacher, and one of the first things, I didn't really know her real well, but she was teaching math to the kids, and she realized that the parents weren't able to help her. So she actually organized stuff after school so the parents could come in and get math tutored. That's pretty impressive. Yeah, I mean, I've never known another teacher to do that before, but she had that kind of commitment. We got to be friends. We had a lot of interests together. Working at the same school, we took a lot of field trips. We went to NASA, we went to Death Valley, we went to Joshua Tree, and a few other places. And she kind of like, I'm kind of like the sit-at-home guy and watch the movie on TV, and she would drag me out and make sure we did all kinds of neat stuff together, with the kids and the groups. As we got to be more and more friends, we started going out to like museums and things like that. And she always had, it was everything interested her. And
as everyone else has said, she was passionate with everything. She was in the conservation and saving the world, all that. And I mean, she put everything she had into it. When she did get diagnosed with cancer, she impressed us again. They came over during the pandemic and sat with us a couple of times, had lunch, no mask, no anything. I'm going like, oh my God. I mean, if I had cancer, I would be too afraid to do anything. But she did it. She was so courageous, so brave, and I will really, really, really miss her.
My name is Ross. I knew Susan and Clinton initially through our Unitarian Universalist Church, where they attended and we attended, and I always liked them. And they were part of us. Not real close for me, but they were part of us. And you also need to know I'm a physician. I'm a partially retired internist. And I'll never forget the day that Susan came feeling pretty well, but I saw that her color was off. And it was shortly after that she was diagnosed and began the journey. I'm afraid that during that first year or so, I put on my doctor hat. And Susan taught me, and I want to both apologize to you, Susan, if you can hear me. I hope that you can. And tell you that your years as a teacher served you well in dealing with me, because she taught me that I had to have her go the way that she had to go through her life. And I've had, in the course of my professional career, many cases of pancreatic cancer. I've never seen someone go through the surgery and through the chemo that she did and survive as well as she did. I've never seen that. She was one, in my experience, 1 in a million. And I was always so attuned to how she was feeling and what she was doing physically that I lost connection, I think, with her spiritual side, which is very sad to me. But I just want to remember her as a warrior. I'm not sure that when my time comes that I'll want to fight like she did. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I don't know. I'm older than she is. I still can walk the Sierras and San Bernardinos. But she had so much courage and taught me not that my medical perspective of being prepared for one's end and all of that stuff wasn't the way that she related to me. I think she had all that and did all that, but she taught me that her way was the way she had to go in her life. And in that sense, giving her the autonomy to do what she wanted and support her every inch of the way, which we did at a distance, I'm sad to say, was really critical. So many of you have talked about her as a teacher. She taught me how to be a better doctor, how to be a better person, and how to love when it counts. Blessings to you.
I am Susan's granddaughter, and I'm 15, so I don't have as many memories with her as everybody else does, but I do know that every single time I had a play, or every single time I had a performance, or a concert, or a ballet recital, even when I was like 5 and just running around the stage, kind of looking stupid. She was there to support me, and she's always been Grandma Susan. And I've always looked forward to Christmas and Thanksgiving. And I remember when she got diagnosed, and I don't remember what grade I was in, but it was after she had got diagnosed, and I was in 5th grade, and we were doing a project about cancer, and pancreatic cancer got brought up, and we were talking about how it's one of the hardest kinds, and how it's so difficult to overcome. And I remember being so proud that my grandma was surviving and was alive and had overcome that. And now every time I see the color purple, I think of her, and like my class color right now is purple, and we recently had a pep rally, and everybody was like dancing around and running, and everybody wore purple, and all I could think the whole time was that this is Grandma Susan, this is her, because that was in February, that was just a couple months ago. But I haven't known her for that long, but 15 years, Grandma Susan has always been there, and she's always been really good at math, and I am not, and so I am forever grateful for that, because so many times, hey, I don't know how to do Algebra 1, and it's midnight, and I just want to go to sleep. I got you. And I was like, yay! So I can't say that much, and clearly I'm not an adult, but I love her. I will always love her, and she will always be Grandma Susan.
That's a tough act to follow.
Yes.
You don't have to. It's part of the amazing person here. Couldn't possibly not be here, my wife and I. 4 years, a little more than 4 years ago, when this train ran over us, first started to deal with it, we met a couple of wonderful people. Got referred to an online group. There's a group that's different because a lot of the groups are run by medical professionals. They're very restricted in what they can do. They talk with this, talk with that, talk with this. This group was founded by Susan and Tom, good friend Tom. We had to come out today for no other reason than to see Tom in the flesh instead of the little box. And these two wonderful people decided that the patients needed to talk to each other, and not giving advice, but just sharing the experience of what we were going through. And it was such an amazing resource for everybody. I'm the character here, obviously. I'm just the patient, but we're going through this journey to get together. Tom and Susan started this group. And what's really wonderful, you hear all these other stories about Susan, hear the context of grandma, hiker, family. It all fits. I can just see her walking around this property. Just remember, we see her on Zoom, in the little room inside. That's all we knew of her. She's such a giving person, and she made our lives so much fuller just by being there. So I couldn't possibly be here. We thank Susan and thank Tom. Let you know that she was a great healing healer, great healer. Great healer, yes, she was. Thank you.
Hello. I'm Judy Andrews. I speak Koretsky. Susan and I met at a gym. I think it was Gold's Gym, and you know Susan talks to everybody. We discovered we had a lot in common, me how when she was a little girl, she would have her little desk all set up and she would play school. So she always wanted to be a teacher. But when I think of scriptures, I think of Proverbs 18:24. There is a friend that sticketh closer than a brother. And that was Susan to all of you and to me. She made me feel like part of her family. I met her parents. I met Scott, wherever you are, parents, Dan and Deb. Susan introduced me to my forever love, Hawaii. She called me and, Judy, do you want to go Easter break? I said, yeah. And I had no money being a new teacher, but I thought I'll love making the payments on my Bank America so I can go to Hawaii. So we went. And I have to tell you this, Susan's very frugal and have their electric car and their little, whatever. She cares about the earth. So when we got to Hawaii, she wanted to rent this little teeny Toyota. And I went, Susan, we're in Hawaii. I may never get back here. So I talked her into a red convertible. and guess who drove it all the time? Susan. So she had that wild part to her. And, we went on a cruise together. We drove up. I met all of her friends and family. And Janet, where's Janet? I met Janet. We went to a timeshare there. And I was listening to all of you speak. And I really can't add to all the adjectives you're using to describe her. And I remember too, when after I sold my house, I was staying with her, renting a room, and she showed me the globe, because Quentin used to be a glass blower, and he gave her this paperweight with, is it descending hearts or ascending hearts? Red hearts. And I looked at it and said, Susan, Quentin is in love with you. He was. So I remember the night it clicked when he was renting a house from Sue Newton. And she says, yeah, I decided to call Quentin and ask him to movies. We went to dinner in the movies. And it was just too late for him to drive back. So I invited him to spend the night. And it was off from then on. And God couldn't have created a more perfect partner for her because you really enriched her life. And my life, when I look back, there would be so many holes in my life experiences, had I not met Susan that day. I remember being with her parents in this big, beautiful house in Wisconsin. There was a peacock in the tree. So we ran in and got her father, and he came out and looked and said, this is a historic day. And he took care of that peacock, and he took it to a peacock farm. But she always brought me in, and even when I was going through my husband's cancer and the loss of my husband, I knew she was going through her own cancer experience. She always was available to encourage me, to love me, to listen to me. And that's what made her the unique person that she was. And we went on a trip to see Vi in Prescott Valley, and we went to the rodeo. It was very important. And of course, that's when Santana Smooth. So everywhere you went, that's the only song you heard. That song came on, and she and I got out and danced. And so whenever I hear that song, that's my song and Susan's song. And like I said, my life wouldn't be as rich as it is today, and I miss her every day. And I Christ, I'm not crying, but I love you, Susan, and she knew it, and I knew she loved me too. And so grateful that I can share my love for her with all of you, because I know you feel the same. So thank you.
Not done I'm not accustomed to being in front of people unless I go in this room and which is I can tell, by the way. You may suffer later. Oh no. But I appreciate everybody's courage to come up here and share something about Susan, because she was really nice at Susan. I've always known her as Sue until Whitney became a more regular part of her life. But I appreciate her friendship. She, I think, a very special friend to me. My name's Sandy, by the way, Janet. And we've known her about 35 years, back in Colorado Springs days. And we had some wild times. The three of us met by playing softball. Yeah, well, I met her a little prior, but yeah, it started. Okay. That's how I met you. Playing softball, and of course, out drinking and looking for guys. Yeah, there was a lot of that. But as I was sitting there and thinking about what am I going to say, I thought, a friend of mine once told me, if you want to have a friend, you have to be a friend. And Sue was, she was a wonderful friend. And when she moved out here, she stayed in touch. And, my excuse was, I'm not a teacher. I am. So I didn't have summers off, but she came back to Colorado every summer and visited me, probably visited you, visited other people she knew. And she made a point to stay in touch and keep that friendship. And she's one of the few people that I know who would send cards, which I always love to get from her, because who doesn't get a meal that isn't a meal? Yeah, and it's just warm and loving and caring, and you guys have already shared all of that. So I am so grateful to have had her.
And you helped her move to California.
I surely did, and it was fun. Except a lot higher than that in French Junction, but it was, it was. And well, Quentin will remember Sue used to say when she would come back to visit on many trips back to Colorado, which, by the way, we did a lot of hiking and skiing and things together over the years, but once she moved here and came back to Colorado, she would still, go on hikes up to 12,000, 13,000 feet with me, even though she's got sea lungs, and it dragged her along, and she was a trooper. She was wonderful. She was. But she loved being out there in nature too. And grateful, very grateful. Take it away, Janet.
So, well, like I said, we met in softball. I was a teacher. I don't know if Susan was a teacher then, or she worked for the Forest Service for a bit, and she was doing stuff with science. I think she even taught science for a little bit. Yes. Well, she went down to high school in Kansas City, or they were born there, living there. She enjoyed doing that. I feel like sometimes some of the things I got to know were also some of the struggles, because she did have struggles. But she is probably one of the most forgiving people that I know. I wish I was as forgiving as she was, or is. But a couple of the things that I just have some memories of sometimes, I like to go backpacking. So my friend Lisa and I, and Susan, it was, I think, decided we're going to hike down into the Grand Canyon. We went all the way down to the river. Did you hear this story? And Susan had bad knees, and I don't know how long her knees were bad, and I don't know how much hiking she had done in that beach as far as climbing up and down. She was always in the tail. And Lisa was tall, and she'd kind of always be in the front. And we were getting down to the bottom, and our feet are killing us. Oh my God, just that downhill motion, because we went down, what's it, Boucher Canyon, or go into the park all the way to the end where you can drop down. I mean, they took donkeys down there. Susan, I think, had trekking poles, which I'm glad she did. Her feet were so bad, she couldn't keep up with us, and we couldn't go slow. And so, I mean, that's what she forgave me for that. We had, but because it was getting dark, we had to get to our campsite, get our camp. So Lisa and I got camp, and then we went back. Forgave me. I don't think she played too much. She probably complained more about her knees. That was an awesome trip. Made my 40th birthday very good. And then the other time I came out here, this was after she moved out here, and she was in Victorville or had she well, she was living in an apartment, actually. It wasn't a house.
You came out one time at Christmas time.
Yeah. And I brought your son with me.
Yes.
And that's what I mentioned. And this is before that. And she, I had been seeing this guy that lived in California. It was like a long distance thing that didn't work out. But, she had invited him, and he hooked up with us, or he was nearby. She probably knew you at that time, Susan, in Victorville when she was teaching out there. But we decided we were going to go for a trip, and our plan was to get up to Yosemite. And when we had reservations, and when we got there, it was one of those years like this year. So they closed the park. We could get into the entryway. And so we decided, okay, we're going to now go over to San Francisco. So we drove over there, and then we went down the coast. But we stopped. We wanted to see Big Sur, and Gray Bay, and the aquarium there, one of my favorites. But when we decided to camp, it was like pouring rain, and we tent. This was another time she had to forgive me, because my tent and the stuff that I had kept me very dry. Whereas she, I think, had to climb into my car and sleep in, or the rental car that gave me. So I love her dearly for being my friend and just never giving up on me and always keeping in touch. She always initiated those things that we did together. And I came out here a couple of times, right? But we came out here last 2 years ago.
And I thankfully came out before COVID, just before COVID, because you kept saying, you dumped me off in the desert X number of years ago, and you haven't been back since.
That other trip was what Judy was talking about when I had a timeshare in Mesquite. You and Susan met us up there. Yes. My mother came with me.
That was fun.
Going to see Happy Feet. Were you there when we saw Happy Feet? Going to the spa. Susan loved the spa. She was so good with my mom, She probably loved my mom more than I did.
Your mom was really sweet and fun.
Yeah. So, a lot of good memories. It's almost memories you forget about.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Some pictures of her. Miss her.
I do
See you somewhere else. Thanks. Hi, I'm Jenny Wilder, friend of Susan, and I don't remember when I met her, but I know it was
Mojave group, and we went hiking together quite a bit. And then when she realized that the Friends of Juniper Flats needed some help, she jumped right in and started helping out, being on the steering committee and doing the hikes and all kinds of stuff. Anyway, when I had to quit being the chair of the Mojave group, guess what? Susan jumped right in there and kept that going till the last, actually. And during her period of having pancreatic cancer, I really, really appreciated her emails about her progress. It really helped me be uplifted because she was always positive. Even when there was a negative there, she would be a little bit positive. Anyway, yeah, I don't remember when I met her, unfortunately, but it was definitely a journey. And, you know, if we had more people like Susan in the world, we probably wouldn't have half the problems. And I just hope that we can learn to be a little bit more like Susan every day.
And of course, as the activity progresses, you know, people, memories will come back and connections, and you know, the gathering isn't just about this moment here. It's about being together and continuing to share and making new connections. You know, there are people here who've only seen each other through a little box on a screen, and now they've met in person. And so, you know, we're continuing to make new connections thanks to Susan. And so there will be new connections made here tonight or today that will hopefully carry on. So I think that to hear some of this, Susan might be a little embarrassed because I don't think that she thought that she was all that, even though we all today have made it very clear that she was. There are things I learned about her today that I wasn't expecting, and I loved everything that everyone shared. I loved that someone mentioned that she wrote cards, something that she always did for my kids and did for us. And one of the things that is a little side benefit that I treasure is that her cards are some of the only things that my children have read in cursive. Something that doesn't happen that much anymore. So reading notes from Grandma Susan was almost like, yeah, I'll help you get through that so you can understand how cursive works. So I think she might feel a little embarrassed or blush because she was also very humble. She thought less of herself probably than others did, and she knew she wasn't perfect. She made mistakes, but when she did, she owned them, and she apologized for them, and she tried to get better. She had a desire to grow and learn, and she never stopped trying. She was not just a teacher, she was a student. She loved learning and improving and always looking for ways to improve herself and to be helpful. Thinking about this, it put me in mind of an ancient Chinese saying. It's a poem by Lao Tzu, the Taoist philosopher who lived and wrote this poem 600 years BC. Be utterly humble, and you shall hold to the foundation of peace. Be at one with all these living things which, having arisen and flourished, return to the quiet whence they came, like a healthy growth of vegetation falling back upon the root. Acceptance of this return to the root has been called quietism. Acceptance of quietism has been condemned as fatalism. But fatalism is acceptance of destiny. And to accept destiny is to face life with open eyes, whereas not to accept destiny is to face death blindfolded. He who is open-eyed is open-minded. He who is open-minded is open-hearted. He who is open-hearted is kingly. He who is kingly is godly. He who is godly is he who is peaceful. He who is is immortal. Susan will live on in each of us as we keep the memory of her spirit with us. She will be immortal because she was open-eyed and open-minded and open-hearted. She was useful And what she taught all of us here and all of those whom she met, that knowledge, that love will go on infinitely, immune to immortality. And it's Sue who would like to share a poem.
I was going to wear this, but it was so good. I brought it. Who and I met because of Judy, because Judy and Susan were going to the gym together, and Judy said, "You got somebody you gotta meet because you like each other because you're both biology teachers and you both have the name Susan." Susan and all of you have mentioned about each other being a hard act to follow. Susan's a hard act to follow. Really, truly. She was such a tremendous friend to me. Loyalty was a key thing. I remember for a while, 2 years, I had this crazy, stupid notion I want to go back to the Covina area and maybe live again where I lived before. So that didn't last. But for 2 years, every Saturday morning at 10:30, Susan met me at the gym. We did an hour of the elliptical together. So she's always there. She's the type that just doesn't want you as a casual friend. She hasn't seen you for a while. She won't be happy with a phone call. It's like, I need to see you. And so it's just been a tremendous experience knowing her. I do have a poem and I have something else to give to Quinn. The poem is called Miss Me. When I come to the end of the road and the sun has set for me, I want no rights in a gloom-filled room. Why cry for a soul set free? Remember the love we once shared. Miss me, but let me go. For the journey we all must make, and each must go alone. It's all part of the master plan, a dip on the road to me. When you are lonely and sick of heart, go to the friends we know and bury your sorrows, doing good deeds. Miss me, but let me go. When Susan was diagnosed, and I didn't get this idea just from me, other friends with cancer, is that when she started her treatment, I said to her, Susan, it's going to drive you nuts. Everyone's going to call you up and say, how was the chemo treatment? How was this? What was the report? This is going to drive you crazy. Why don't you start doing it? So she did group emails, and I have saved them all and printed them up. And here they are. This is Susan's journal. So this is for you to have and go back and read. It's kudos to Clint for all he's been through.
That was really nice that you did that. It was really thoughtful. And so there really, unless there's any other people that would like to say something, we're going to adjourn and have some food and continue discussions.
I'll add one more thing. Okay. I have some neighbors that live here, and I don't know if they walk around their yard before Susan started here, but people heard about yard walk, okay, people shaking their heads. We have a trail, it's still out there, it's still March, you stomped it in, the weeds don't grow, but there's a trail that goes around the entire property here, and 3 laps is just shy of a mile. So she'd go out, she'd do 6, 7, 8 laps out there to get a couple miles of walking, and I think that really helped in her fight against cancer.
I want to say something like that. I went with, she said, come on, Pinky, let's walk out there. I wasn't walking. Yeah. I'm running, and she's walking, and right in the middle of everything.
Yeah, well, before she got sick, before we got sick, we'd go down to the aqueduct, and we'd walk on the aqueduct, and we could walk 4 miles, 5 miles, back and forth along the aqueduct. And it's a great place to walk. But then with her sickness, she had more need for having a bathroom closer, okay? And so it was like, here she was never more than a third of a mile from a bathroom, at most. And so, but just be able to walk around the yard one way or the other. But anyhow, my neighbors are here. And they walk in their yard a lot, and I don't know if you guys started doing that because of watching Susan out there doing it, or you were doing it before, but I noticed that you guys are doing it, and does that have any connection to what you saw Susan do?
Yeah, we've been watching her go around, especially she watches the really determined to look at you. Yeah. You're right in front of her, right behind her. Yeah. Going around, making yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyhow, in the very beginning, when Susan, well, they might have her operation, a while before they get back. 3 weeks in the hospital, kind of thing. That through going through the whipple surgery and all that, and the healing from that. And so when we walk around out here, I had basically a folding chair, and I just walk behind her because she needed to take a break. Mm-hmm. There's a chair she could sit down, take a break. And we maybe do 1 lap at that time, but then it was more. Then I didn't need to follow with a chair. There was a sure thing that she was going to have no problem doing the whole thing and coming back. Anyhow, I just wanted to mention that because that trail's out there. I walk out there, and occasionally I'll even walk on it. If you want to walk the perimeter of the property, you can do it. You walk a third of a mile. All right.
It'd be nice to walk the trail and think about Susan. You guys are welcome to do that.
The dog might bark at the end.
I kind of feel like troubles and stuff. It's just really nice to get that filled in as a person, and now I can for the rest of the woman and not necessarily just angry on
I just want to say we've got and we are going to have it'd probably be convenient if 2 people would move their car off the street.